Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Timothy Gusakuma, and I am here for our webinar on keeping up with Keep. Is it working? All right. Let me mute my second screen real quick because that's kind of strange. All right. The purpose of this presentation is to bring awareness to a Google-based tool known as Keep. And so I'll get to that as we go through. A little bit about myself. I have a Bachelor of Science in Math from Howard Payne University, a Master's of Education and Leadership through A&M Commerce. I've been here in Garland ISD for 12 years, teaching math at South Garland High School. Currently, my teaching assignment is Algebra 2, and if you'd like to reach out to me on Twitter, you can find me at Mr. T. Gusakuma. I have a wife who is also a teacher and 3 younger kids, all girls, ages 9, 8, and 5. And as you can see from this picture, I really just don't have any normal photos of myself, so I'm using my little emoji guy instead. In terms of technology, Garland ISD is a one-to-one district at the high school level, a little bit lower in elementary. They don't have quite as much available. So some of our students have district iPads. That is on a voluntary basis this year instead of given to everyone as it was last year. I myself have access to a district-issued iPad, a Chromebook through the i3 program, and in my classroom I've got computer, projector, and webcam. So just basic presentation kinds of software things. My co-presenter today is the wonderful Lashaka Wesley Hosier. She is a teacher here at South also. She's been here teaching social studies for 3 years and is my other i3 representative here on campus. So a little bit about Keep. Keep was launched in 2013, so it's actually been around for quite a few years, but it didn't really come onto the scene as loudly as our direct Microsoft Office suite competitors. So while Keep has been around just a little while after Drive was launched, we've heard a lot more as educators, as you know, technology, anybody. We've heard a lot more about the things that counter the Microsoft Office suite. So we heard a lot more about Docs and Forms and other cloud-based things and some of these other formerly very expensive apps to get a hold of, but not so much about note-taking. And that's kind of where Keep has snuck in, and even being very familiar with a lot of the Google things myself, I didn't really know a lot about Keep until the last, I don't know, couple months actually. ISTE standards, what the purpose of this is to this webinar is to tell you how we are addressing some of these ISTE standards or ISTE standards. They are basically the standards of things that need to be taught to students to help them incorporate technology, as technology is such a large part of life going forward. The ISTE standards I believe Keep can be used to address is knowledge constructor, creative communicator, and global collaborator. Some of this is going to depend on the ways that you choose to use Keep or either personally or in your classroom. But a lot of this, again, as a resource doesn't mean that it necessarily is going to be every one of these, but it does have the ability to reach several of these different standards and help grow your students in these different ways. So what is Google Keep? Google Keep is a multi-platform note-taking kind of app. Really, I akin this, well, okay, so here I really do want to say that it is available on pretty much every way people get to the internet these days. You can access it through web browsers. In Chrome, it has its own specific Chrome extension that will make tagging notes very quick and easy through the Chrome browser. You can access it through Android. It's got a nice Android app, which is, of course, developed by Google, so they have their Google things. And also there is an iOS app for Apple through phones and iPads. And it's not quite as robust as Android and iOS don't always play very nicely together, but it does have some very nice things that goes along with it. And for my purposes, it's very nice to be able to access both on my personal device, which is an Android, and also through the school device, which is an iPad. So the first thing Keep will let you do is take notes, just basic notes. A lot of the interfaces, as you can see here, look very similar. So this is a web browser, and at the start of this, you can see where you just click Take a Note, and you're welcome to just type in anything you want to. The secondary thing you can do with Keep is create checklists. So again, through that same general use bar, you can create a checklist of things to do and go ahead and check them off as they get done. To me, this is one of the first things that drew me to Keep because the checklist idea is something, and I was trying to get managed between myself and my wife for things like shopping lists. You can also add drawings. So I have this now as a very rough kind of picture of something I'm going to call a tree. Slightly off the screen is where the different pen things are, different pens and stylus shapes are available. And of course, there's a myriad of colors available and things like that, so you can draw whatever you'd like. I am doing this through a computer, so this is not quite as pretty as I could draw if I were accessing this through my iPad, but it gives you the general idea of what's available, that it can be used to draw pictures and diagrams and things like that. You can also add photos, either by directly taking one or uploading them. The upload option is the only thing that was available through a PC. Again, if you're accessing this through a mobile device, then you can use this to take pictures or upload a photo that you've gotten before. I used this just the other day in a staff development when our presenter was flying through her slides to snap a picture real quick and then draw on the picture to highlight some information that I wanted to review later on. Now, these again are the basic things that Keep can do. And it lets us do all of our general note-taking things. We can type in messages, we can create checklists, we can add our own drawings, or upload or take our own pictures. I forgot one on here, so let me add in whatever letter comes between D and E real quick. If you are accessing this through a phone or iPad, then you can also add a voice recording, a voice dictation as a note. It's not always as obvious because we don't have all of those things attached to every computer, but it's wonderful if you tried to add this through a phone because it does automatically take this to, or does automatically type this out for you. So it really does a quick note dictation kind of thing. Now, as a digital resource, you can organize all of these things whichever way you like. So I've got mine. I'm showing how right here I can color code several of these. Of course, you'll choose whatever color scheme is best for you. And you can also add labels or hashtags to these notes as you're going through them. So one of the menu options for each note is to go ahead and add a label. So you can type in a specific label. So I'm just labeling this one as fam, and I think I labeled this one bad doodle because I can do much better than that if I'm drawing on an iPad. And then in this last one that I'm doing here, I'll show where I'm just adding one as a hashtag. So commonly used search tags these days. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the more neat things that Keep can do is to set up notifications. And these notifications can be done by time and date, as you'd think is fairly typical, but they can also be done by location. So that first dark blue checklist that I created there was a mock shopping list, and I set an alert for that to pop up the next time I go to a Walmart. So it's a very good way to help create those lists that are linked to a specific place. And of course, you can set one for a certain time. One of the things that I noticed about this time of year when everything gets really busy is that right before Thanksgiving, I got a notification that one of my students was going to be in school suspension. And this was the Friday before Thanksgiving, and the student wasn't going to be in suspension until the Tuesday after we got back. So I used Keep real quick to create a note using that student's name, and set the alarm to go off the next time I got back to campus, so that on Monday morning after Thanksgiving, when I came back to campus, I had a note that reminded me to get some papers together for the student. And that was a great reminder for me, where I didn't have to try and remember that or dig back through the list of emails that I got from before break when we were coming back and trying to get stuff done. You'll also notice on this snapshot of my Keep list, I've got a green checked thing that says Arwen, and I like to move it. That is a notification that I have set up to be repeated every evening at 10 o'clock. That is a personal note to move our elf on a shelf. So while I said I have a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, and 5-year-old. They wake up every morning these days trying to find where the elf is and what they did. I needed a silent way to remind myself of that. We generally use Alexa for family alarms, things like be sure and grab your backpack or dance supplies or things like that on the way out of the door. But I just could not broadcast at 10 p.m. every night to move the elf on the shelf. So I instead used Keep to pop up a notification on my iPad, cell phone, and computer, if I happen to be there, to make sure I get up and move that and remember to do that. Now, these notes are also cloud-based, so this list exists on every device that I can use to log into Google. So that's how I was able to notify myself through all of the different ways that I am able to access technology. You're also able to share these notes with other people and ask for input. So one of the things that you can do with this, and this lends itself to some of the collaboration, especially if you were to try and share this to, say, the other people in a study group or in your class, then you can create a note that has like when your next test is. You could create a checklist to remind you to study for the next test and have it go off every evening at, say, 5 p.m. and then you can check off things on the checklist when you get there. So there's a lot of other kind of uses for Keep. So by itself, it's not a way to present new information. It's none of those things. But as a digital sticky note, it's a great way to keep up with a lot of different things, to try and take some of that mental load off, especially during this busy time of year. You can use it to organize things. Here's some other classroom ideas that I had. So let's see here. Take pictures of things to share for notes if your teacher's flying down a whiteboard. Create a checklist or list of steps of things to do. If you share a topic, then you could use it to summarize a jigsaw, very much like where people are just writing their ideas on sticky notes and putting them all in one place for somebody else to read or go over. By location reminders, you can use it to remind you to take care of things when you get home or when you get back to campus, if you just rather try and keep home and work life separate, if that's possible these days. But yeah, so Keep, again, it's not made to combat our major note-taking kinds of things. It's not a new Evernote or something like that. It's simply not as robust. It's much more like a sticky note that has a wonderful ability to have alarms set to go off by either where you are or what time of day it is. It will not do both, by the way, I did check. You can either set one type of alarm or the other. And I kind of think of Keep as that sticky note where Evernote or some of our more robust note-taking apps would be more like a full legal notepad. So it's light, it's fast, it's very useful in the small scale of things. It wouldn't not replace your note-taking maybe for a lecture, but it's also, again, wonderful for things like faculty development, where you just want to add a question or toss an idea to one of your neighbors, where you're not quite sure what's going on, need some clarification, or just want to be reminded to revisit a topic later on. So I believe that's all I've got about Keep. If you've got any questions, I'll be monitoring chat for a couple of minutes to see if anything else is, or if there's anything else going on. Yeah. Let me review my notes real quick and see if there's anything else I'd wanted to say. Yep, well, I'm not seeing any questions or anything else that I believe I had wanted to share with you about Keep. I hope you use it. It's really light. It's a great addition to things that you're already doing. It's not trying to be a replacement, probably. But yeah, I really like it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this information. I hope you get something useful out of this. Let me know if you decide to find some way to use this with your classroom. I haven't quite gotten there yet. I'm really just using this for my own personal notes right now to help keep all of our teachery things organized. Have a wonderful afternoon. Oh, I've got a question from my co-presenter. It does not currently link to Calendar. So I believe that there are some widgets and things out there that will help you connect some things even more because it is part of the Google Suite. But just adding a note, just creating a note will not automatically add it into your calendar. Alrighty, have a wonderful afternoon, guys. Thank you very much.